traders, because of any coming to you from theclosingprint.com, June 13th, 2021. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices, all of which moved higher last week. S&P 500 trading at all-time highs, while the Nasdaq and the IWM are just below, with the NYSE and the Dow Industrials flat for the week. FANG stocks were all higher, with the exception of Netflix, off by a little bit more than 1%. Most of our indicators are bullish with 15, neutral 4, and bearish 1. With the heat map of the S&P 500 sectors improving, we have real estate, semiconductors, travel and leisure, food and beverage, and biotechs all strong last week. Utilities have started to creep higher as well. And the international markets are either consolidating or moving slightly higher, leading with Russia, Greece, Taiwan, and Brazil. In addition, we have a nice list of stocks that are breaking higher on the IBD 50, stocks that are showing relative strength at new highs, stocks that are on the move in green, and stocks from the Blue Dot Scan in cyan. CanSlim candidates look pretty good as well, listed below, and stocks from the scan, we had 7 that look really good, ready for a push higher as well. Bukowski has 5 of 5 green with his CPI signal green since the end of May at 89.3%. That's not overbought yet. That's bullish, with 3 bearish patterns, 25 bullish patterns, and 348 patterns waiting for breakout. Again, we have 15 bullish signals for our neutral and 1 is bearish. Short term, we're bullish to neutral, and intermediate long term are bullish. S&P 500's major supports at 4,200. We have 4,250 as resistance going into this week's monthly OPEX. Starting off this week, we have IWM just below all-time highs, moving in a sideways range since it broke its uptrend back in February. For the past 3.5 months, looking for the break higher. If that does succeed, that would be very bullish. This is a risk-on index as IWM leads. We also saw growth outperforming value again last week as this line moves higher. We can see that growth is clearly outperforming, moving away from the 21 period moving average, rising back up to recent highs, and value is sitting right on top of the 21 EMA. With that in mind, we're looking for the NASDAQ 100 growth stocks to continue the push higher this week. If IWM leads, we'd expect both of these indices to help with the S&P 500, with the NASDAQ just below all-time highs. With that in mind, the S&P 500 Spiders continues its march higher, grinding along a path to 425. We know that the call wall has shifted higher over the last month from 420 up to 425. That gave us the indication that institutions wanted to see the markets moved higher. And as of the close on Friday, we saw more signs that they're shifting even higher to 427.50. With RSI above 50 and pushing higher, the strength of the trend is there. Volume is a little suspect, but it is at average, with MACD flat trying to move a bit higher, and ATR continues to move lower, which is telling us to look for tighter ranges going into this week's monthly OPEX. If we look at the S&P composite, 1,500 stocks from the S&P 500, S&P 400 mid caps, S&P 600 small caps, we can clearly see we're still on a bullish signal, green above red, no change of direction like we had back in late October on the horizon, and histogram remains above the zero line. Price action remains in the upper half of the Bollinger Bands and grinding higher on this broad measure of market participation. We also saw the NYSE 2,700 stocks, making more new highs than new lows. We did sort of taper off towards the end of the week as histogram turned red, but we're still above the zero line and showing no signs of a dip just yet. We are making higher highs and higher lows. The key here I see is New York Stock Exchange advanced decline with more advancing stocks making a new high, while price action consolidates with blue elder sticks. Finally, we have the Wilshire 5000, a broader measure of market participation, grinding higher. While Copac curve is flattening out a bit, it is possible that we could see a higher high and a higher low. While KST, the rate of change, tells us that the trend could persist a lot longer, has just turned in the last few weeks. So we've seen previous occasions where a crossover to the bullish direction lasted for about 6 weeks. We're currently on week number 3. So it's possible that we continue to make all-time highs as we watch for all of the major indices to continue higher. Breadth is also bullish with the S&P 500 in the middle panel, advanced decline percent bouncing off the zero line, mid caps, small caps, and the NASDAQ 100 in the lower panel all pushing higher to start the week, but not overbought, which would occur at the upper plus 30% line. In addition, we have NIMO, which is pushing higher, similar to what we saw on the NASDAQ NAMO. McClellan oscillators all pushing higher, looking for a higher high, not overbought or extended, closing for the week at 27.18. We also see the bullish percent for the NYSE 2700 stocks, giving us a neutral to slightly more bullish indication, but not overbought. Volatility signals, VIX is green starting off the week at lows, similar to what we saw in April, and the lowest lows that we've seen since the start of 2020, right before the COVID crisis, when being at these levels started to look like a top. That said, we are going into one of the seasonally strongest months of the year, with seasonality for all of the indices peaking in July, leaving us with a more bullish to neutral start for the week. Bonds are also neutral to bullish as the bond stock ratio grinds along the lows. 65 period moving averages rolling over. Back in 2017, when that happened, the markets continued to grind higher. We also see bonds like the 20-year continuing higher. A little bit overbought at the moment, but we've seen periods in the past where the TLT has rallied with the S&P 500, 2014 and 2017, with investment grade bonds LQD moving higher. As of March the 23rd, the last time we talked about this on the breakout, we just saw the trend continue higher in investment grade. In addition to what we saw on IWM, which is a risk-on indicator, junk bonds continue to give us a bullish signal, pushing higher at the upper Bollinger Bands. US dollar continues to move higher, while copper continues to consolidate just above the 50-day moving average, which should see support come in and potentially break higher out of this descending channel, together with other commodities like gold, which is consolidating at recent highs, at resistance. As we can see, volume by price in this area, a push above that zone 1920 should lead to a push to 52-week highs, with Brent and crude oil continuing its grind higher, looking for the highs that we saw back in 2018 potentially. In the short term, if we break above $74 per barrel, with West Texas crude giving us the same signal, which would be bullish for equities as it has a positive correlation to the equity market as it trends higher. Sectors are improving with travel and leisure and entertainment leading in addition to REITs and real estate. We saw semiconductors do quite well and technology. So we're looking for more improvement, more green coming into this week, as well as what we saw in Europe, South America, and the Asia continent. We're looking for improvement here as well, with weakness in the United Kingdom and Spain last week. Leading sectors last week, biotechs, real estate, energy closed just below 52-week highs. Technology continues to ramp higher. Healthcare pushed off the 50-day 2 weeks ago. That looks like it's about to break out. Consumer discretionary is starting to turn, might move above the 50-day this week, in addition to what we saw in the retail sector. So we'll be focusing on the strongest sectors this week, looking for bounces in sectors like financials and industrials, as we look for strength going into July, one of the seasonally strongest months of the year. IBD 50 stocks for the week ranked by performance. We can see the top 10 stocks that we've traded recently: Tiger, CLF, Apps Turbine, Yeti, QFin, HubSpot. With HubSpot looking very strong coming into the week, we're looking for a follow through here as it pushes above the 50-day moving average, looking very strong. RSI is above 50, volume increasing. MACD above its signal line and stochastics rising. Looking for ATR to turn up. Up FinTech holding. Tiger looks like it wants to break out above this 29 zone. Head for 38.50 as it completes the right side of this pattern. RSI is constructive. Volume shows institutions have been picking up shares over the last 3 weeks. MACD is above its signal line. Stochastics rising, along with an improving ATR, with the latter indicating larger intraday ranges. Yeti also looks like it wants to break higher as more people are outdoors enjoying time with friends and family. Yeti products continue to be bought up. We got MACD above its signal line, volume increasing. Looks like we're going to continue higher, having broken out of this consolidation around $90, so we're only about $5 above that level right now. Measured move is about $10, so figure about 100 in the short term. 360 Finance, while I wouldn't buy it, I would continue to push my stops higher. RSI is showing muscle, strength of trend, persistent. Any new positions, I would look at a pushback to the 9 EMA that gets bought. Other than that, we have very major volume by price breakout above that level, 52-week highs, volume indicating institutions, and MACD above its signal line and rising. Avery Dennison manufactures office products and should continue higher above these volume by price bands and 52-week highs as the economy opens and people go back to work in office situations. Blackstone Group trending along the 9 EMA, just touched the 9 EMA last week, looking for a follow through. Volume shows consistent buying for much of this year. Charles Schwab looks like it might follow through, looking for a second bullish day off of the 21 day. RSI is rising, volume beginning to increase again. Watch for stochastic to turn as a function of price. Cleveland Cliffs from previous watch lists, just keep tightening up your stops, pulling it underneath these flags if you are already in it in a swing. CrowdStrike breaking out above this 227 zone, looking for 52-week highs as security becomes more and more an issue for big corporations. Digital Turbine looking like it's going to push off of the 50-day, looking very strong coming into the week. Looking for 93 in the short term. Volume beginning to increase, MACD above its signal line, stochastics embedded. Element Solutions improving. Nice bullish trend, RSI above 50, pegged above 70 at the present time, looking for a follow-through. 52-week highs, look for this to continue its trend. Volume increased on Friday. Generac Holdings going into hurricane season should break higher, watching for the break of this very large pattern and potentially the 400 level in the short term. Banks, a little suspect, a little pullback, watching for a follow-through, looking for volume to come in as the yields pull back, watching some profit taking in the banks that have had a nice trend coming into this year. In mode looks like it wants to break out, volume increasing as well, MACD above its signal line. JBL from previous watch lists continues along this bullish trend. Just keep tightening up your stops underneath these pivots under the 9 EMA. As volume shows, institutions have been picking up shares over the last 5 weeks as it breaks higher. KKR, asset managers, looks like we're going to test 52-week highs again, breaking higher on Thursday and Friday on above average volume, moving into an area of no overhead supply at 52-week highs. LOVE, I always find this company's name amusing. The Lovesac company, trending higher, volume increasing, stochastics and MACD both turning higher. The company produces foam-filled furniture, sectional couches, and related accessories. You can see earnings are projected to increase by more than 100% by 2023. A little bit lower in 2022, riding the trend and populations moving in and out of major cities as many millennials graduate college and start their careers, condos, apartments, homes, moving out of the college environment into their own. As these trends persist, remembering that the millennials will outnumber the baby boomers by large, so this trend could last a lot longer than most people expect over the coming years and decades. Maravai Life Sciences, MRVI, breaking higher. The company provides products to develop drug therapies, diagnostics, vaccines for novel applications, and supports research on diseases as biotechs and pharmaceuticals outperform in the short term. Moderna providing another opportunity on this flag, looking for this to push higher. If strength persists and volume increases this week, watch for a follow-through in Moderna. RSI is showing muscle. That's strength of trend. With NVIDIA showing a similar breakout last week, strength, look at the volume. That's institutions picking up shares. Looking for a follow-through in NVIDIA this week as RSI is embedded, showing muscle, strength of trend, volume confirming. Roku breaking trend, looking for a push off of this 350 level, a retest of the 400 zone, and building out the right side of this pattern as the communications sector outperforms in recent weeks. Snap looking for a breakout above this pivot zone around 65, and then a follow through to 52-week highs. Sprout Social continues to push higher. Some signs of some profit taking at the highs here. Look for a little pullback to the 9 EMA. Volume suggests that institutions have been picking up shares just below 52-week highs. Tempur-Pedic mattresses looking for a breakout of this base that's lasted for more than 16 weeks. UCTT, Ultra Clean Holdings. This is a semiconductor related stock that manufactures gas delivery, chemical, mechanical, planarization systems for the semiconductor consumer and commercial government industry groups. West Pharmaceuticals, along with many of the other pharmaceutical stocks, some of them pulling back last week. This one's showing relative strength. MACD is about to turn, stochastics rising. Looking for a follow-through and a test of recent highs. And Zscaler, many of you have been trading this over the last few weeks. I'd just be moving my stops underneath Looks like we're going to continue higher. Volume suggests institutions keep pushing this, buying up shares as it approaches the 230 zone. Over the next couple of weeks, we could see another 10% easily. Together with those IBD 50 names, we have stocks that are showing relative strength in white, stocks on the move that are set up in lime green, and stocks from the blue dot scan in cyan. Also check out these CanSlim names and stocks from the scan this week that we're looking for follow through. Note that there's a lot of semiconductors set up. We see Microsoft, PayPal looking for a follow through, and some of the restaurant and bar names like Starbucks looking for that to push back above the 50-day going into this week. So be sure to check these out. All of them have been screened for potential follow through, so we'll look for that. And your watch list later tonight around 11:30 on the East Coast, 8:30 on the West Coast. That's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com this June the 13th, 2021. I hope you have a great evening, everyone. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.